I'm ready. Boy.
What's going on, everybody? Jackson Fuller here, along with Tanner Barth, and it's another weekly edition of our high school football preview that we're going to be doing throughout the high school season this year. Week one, Tanner got some of his predictions right. I certainly did not, but we're gonna try and dive in and make up for ourselves a little bit this week. Tanner, how you doing today? We saw each other last night at the Ashley girls basketball game. A sad ending for the Screaming Eagles season, but I guess it's officially football season now.
Yeah, it is weird to think, it's officially football season and we're in the first week of March, but, hats off to the Ashley Screaming Eagles. They put together a great season and nothing to hang their head about, one of their best seasons in school history. So congrats to them, all of our basketball teams for, representing the area well. And now you and I and a lot of people across the area now turn our focus to football now and what is already, been a fun first week of the high school football season.
Yeah, some people talked to me about, was it weird covering football in the spring last week? And I said, honestly, the weirdest part is we're covering football and it's not the biggest story right now just because of the Ashley still being live and having a genuine shot at winning a state championship. Very close loss to Garner last night. Let's get into it. We're going to do the same thing as last week, 3 separate games, set the lines of one big question and one bold prediction. For set the lines, Tanner and I pretend we're the Las Vegas bookies that care about Southeastern North Carolina and what we think the spread would be if this game was in Vegas and able to be gambled on. Not necessarily our prediction. First off, I'm going to start with New Hanover at Topsail, Tanner. That's the game I'm going to be at this week. I think huge game in the MEC 3A race. These two teams have kind of battled it out with West Brunswick playing the part last year as well. They played twice last year. New Hanover won 51-7 in the regular season and 46-7 in the playoffs. But New Hanover's 0-1 and Topsail's 1-0. The Pirates beat Laney last week 20-6. New Hanover lost to Hoggard 19-13. I'm going to set this line at, I think, just by these two teams' previous track record, New Hanover -9.5. Give them a touchdown and a field goal, 10-point spread. What do you think the spread would be, and what are some of your overall thoughts about this game?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a good game. You said New Hanover, obviously, they were able to move the ball well on the ground. They kind of struggled through the air a little bit in their week 1 matchup against Hoggard, but that's a good Hoggard defense. On the other side, I was really surprised on just how good the Topsail Pirates looked. They came out, they found a way to slow down what is a much improved the score may not look like it, but is a much improved Laney team and a much improved Laney offense. I think it's going to be a little bit closer than that. I think Hanover may squeak out the win. I think it's going to be, I'm going to go with a 4.5-point spread. I think, it could really go either way, but like you said, looking at past matchups and just kind of what we know, tend to have, you give New Hanover the upper hand in this, but don't be surprised if Topsail pulls out the win. I think it'll be a good football game. And it'll come down to, who can stay on the field and who can get stops. And I'm sure both teams will be better than they were in week 1, but I think we're in for a good showdown.
I definitely think that my 9.5 is a lot based off just last year. Topsail and had a good team last year. New Hanover just kind of smoked them. I think New Hanover's not as good as they were last year. At least at this point in the season with a bunch of young guys, they could get back to that point. I'm excited to see, Quintel Waddell, Devin Pelham, some of the basketball guys get on the field. And that, that's going to be big for Liam Appler, who, he made some good passes that were dropped. He made some tough passes in his first start. But I think, getting some of those weapons back offensively is definitely going to help New Hanover. And, like you said, I wouldn't be surprised at all if Topsail comes away with a win at home in this game. But going off what we saw last year, it's kind of hard for me to make that spread much smaller on my end. Let's move over to Laney at West Brunswick. Another matchup between a 1-0 and an 0-1 team. Like all the 3 MEC matchups this Friday are. West Brunswick beat Ashley last week 26-0. And Laney, like we just mentioned, lost to Topsail 20-6. Hey, West Brunswick, the train just keeps on rolling for that defense. It doesn't really matter who's there as long as Brett Hickman and Caleb Pardue are running things. They have a really solid foundation there. I'm going to say West Brunswick -6.5. I think, just with their experience on defense and Laney kind of struggling a little bit last week against Topsail. I'm sure they're going to improve this week and as the season goes along. But that game's going to be in Charlotte. I know Brett Hickman's been crying for fans out there. Really excited to play in front of a home crowd. I think West Brunswick by 6.5 is my pick. What do you say, Tanner?
What's crazy is I had that 6.5 number picked as well in my head, but I'll go different for you for the sake of this show here, and I think it will be a good game because you mentioned the fact that I think Laney will be better offensively. It's going to be a good battle up front because Laney has some big kids on the line. They struggled at times. They also dropped a few touchdown passes in their week 1 matchup, so that score could have been a little bit closer. Could have been 20-14, something like that. I think it'll be a good game. I will take West Brunswick. I'll go 8.5. I think it's I wouldn't be surprised if this thing comes down to a 1-score game, but you mentioned the West defense. They've been so solid and they've really carried that squad. And a kid like Monzel Campbell who comes in, and we saw exactly what he could do. A guy that rushes for 2 touchdowns, one of them over 50 yards, and he's explosive. So if they can get enough offensively and carry along that good defense, I think West wins this ball game. But I think Laney will put up a good fight, and I think head coach Little will have them looking quite a bit better than they did in week 1, no doubt about that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, you mentioned Monzel. I think that's just Monzel's an element to the West Brunswick offense that they just hadn't had the past couple of years. They've had some really talented guys. DeAndre, Clarita, and Johnny Magby, who's still there, but a game breaker who at any moment can go 60, 70 yards for a touchdown. That makes any offensive coordinator and a head coach happy and excited about what they could do offensively. And Carter Wyatt just picked up his first D1 scholarship offer from Navy. So congratulations to Carter. I think that's going to be the first of many for him. I think West Brunswick just, this year you're going to have to, we haven't seen too many games. We're already jumping into conference. I'm kind of leaning on some, last week I kind of was throwing around some stuff of, relying on maybe for trying to predicting the future. This week I'm going to kind of lean on some past experiences, and West Brunswick and Laney last year 20-0. I don't think it'll be that lopsided, but I do think West Brunswick's advantage on defense will be a difference maker for them. The last Friday night game of the MEC is Ashley at Hoggard. The Vikings won that game last year 14-0, just a 2-possession game between those two rivals. It was one of the closer games between the two sides in a very, very long time. Hoggard beat New Hanover 19-13, a very impressive win to start the season last week. Ashley lost 26-0 to West Brunswick, but from what I've heard, it was a pretty competitive game. Ashley made a couple mistakes at the end that West Brunswick took advantage of, and Ashley's headed in the right direction. With all that said, I think Hoggard by 14.5, 16.5, 14.5. I've debated those two. I'm going to say 16.5 in the end. I think the Vikings, their defense was so impressive against New Hanover. And I think the offense, when they go back and look on the film, they had some guys running open in spots that just didn't hit them, some holes. I think against, the New Hanover defense is pretty good. I think Hoggard's offense is going to take a big step forward this week.
So similar, Jackson. We're on the same wavelength so far this week. Since you took the 16.5, I'll take the 14. I think, you mentioned it. We do need to see, what this Hoggard offense can do when it's in full force. We saw them run the ball at times. We saw Gabe Johnson and Sam Jones, have some success, whether that was through the air or on the ground themselves. I think Ashley, they're so close. This is a team, we talked about their JV team playing really good football. They won 47-0 over West. They've got the guys coming up. They just have to kind of put it together. So I think it'll be another, 14-point game, 20-6, somewhere around along those. I wouldn't be surprised if it ends up in like a 14-0 game, just because, both of these teams are still trying to figure some things out. But ultimately, I give the nod to head coach Craig Underwood and the Hoggard Vikings at about a 14-point spread.
It's tough to go against Hoggard any year. And, last year it was a bit of a down year, but hey, they'd already accounted for those losses against New Hanover on last Friday. They still have Topsail and West Brunswick that they've got to beat. But I think all the focus will be on Ashley this week. Hoggard, I like Hoggard. Hoggard's chances to take another step forward. One thing that we haven't talked about is, in South Brunswick and North Brunswick, hey, those two schools have been off for a long time, but they're going to play Tuesday in Leland, I believe. I think that game's at North Brunswick to kick off their season after both of those schools shut down in-person learning and paused athletics for a couple weeks. North won last year 11-6. Talk about a defensive game. I really have no idea what to expect. I think both of these teams could be pretty good on defense. I think South Brunswick's got some potential on offense with Roman Dilgard and Danny Parker back. I'm gonna make it a pick'em game as my spread. Just because I don't know what to expect, I would lean, I guess, South Brunswick a slight favorite just because they have a little bit more coming back. But North Brunswick was a better team last year, and by my logic of leaning on past experiences, I should take North Brunswick. So with that said, I'm gonna say pick'em. Tanner, what do you think?
I mean, 4.5 North Brunswick. I think, you do mention South. They have, the talent coming back. They have the ability to be a really good football team on both sides. They were pretty good defensively last year. Just at times they couldn't quite get enough offensively to pick up a huge amount of wins. The only reason I lean North in this is it's been ingrained in my head, it seems like, over the last 3 years that I've been here, is, North is always going to have those game-changing speed players. They're so well known to have a solid boys track and field program, a lot of high jumpers, a lot of really fast kids. And, they've been coming off of, I'm sure, running some indoor tracks. So they're going to be ready to get out there and play. That's the only reason. But other than that, like you mentioned, we just don't know enough right now to make a super educated guess on, what this game may look like.
Yeah.
And you said that's Tuesday. Are they going to play Tuesday, Friday next week? Or is that allowed?
They're going Tuesday, Friday.
Okay.
That's the plan right now. Of course, COVID, who knows? For now, I think the plan is both those teams are going to go Tuesday, Friday. I think North, I can't remember. I don't even want to quote me. Go look up the schedules for anybody that's curious. Our football teams here do a pretty good job keeping those updated. All right, let's go. Biggest question heading into the week. I'll go first. Mine is, can Topsail get over the hump? I mean, hey, we've seen this before from the Pirates. They've had some really good seasons in the past 3 years. They beat Hoggard last year, which was a huge win for the program. They've made the playoffs a bunch in recent years. New Hanover's the last hurdle that they just haven't been able to cross. They haven't been able to beat the Wildcats, and that's been, their biggest block between being the 3A MEC champion. So can Topsail get over the hump? They're at home. New Hanover's got a brand new quarterback, a lot of young guys on the defense. Topsail's coming off a win. New Hanover's coming off a loss. Is this the time for Topsail to get over that hump? I know New Hanover and Coach Dimmick will have something to say about that, but that's my big question coming into the week. What can Topsail get over the hump and beat New Hanover?
And my big question also comes from that game. It's on the other side. Can the New Hanover offense, get back to looking like the New Hanover offense? Obviously, it was week one. You throw a bunch of, guys in there that haven't had huge playing time besides, Raz Chandler in the offensive line. And it kind of, showed in their offensive production and some mistakes. Can they get back on track? I mean, we're so used to seeing New Hanover score 30 and 40 points, every single night. And obviously, it's a different team for head coach Dylan Dimmick. And, that's my big question mark. Are we going to see them kind of straighten some things out because the running game was there? Can they put it together with the pass game and, kind of get things figured out and get back on track? But, hey, I like yours as well because you said, Topsail's one of those teams every year. We never know quite what to expect until they start playing the Wilmington schools, but they got one out of the way, and now they have New Hanover coming in back-to-back games, and we'll see exactly what they can do.
Yeah. I mean, hey, they've now, as of right now, for their record against the Wilmington schools in their last games, they've beaten everybody except for New Hanover. They beat Laney, they beat Hoggard, they beat Ashley in their last times playing those schools. New Hanover's the one thorn in their side. All right, one big prediction, and Tanner, since I'm such a great high school sports journalist here, I'm going to give you two bold predictions this week.
All right.
My first one is kind of a funny one. No blocked punts. We had 3 blocked punts alone in the Hoggard-New Hanover game. Special teams is a little sloppy, I've heard, throughout the area. I have a feeling head coaches here are that it's going to be a little extra time spent on practice this week in special teams. No blocked punts. My second one, I think Raz Chandler is going to go for more than 150 yards against Topsail this week. He had 130 against Hoggard, and he was making moves to avoid defenders that were already in the backfield. I could not have been more impressed with a running back that, didn't really find the end zone on the ground. He did catch a touchdown pass, and his team lost, but Raz really impressed me. He looked great midseason form. I think he goes for over 150 yards this week. Tanner, what's your one bold prediction for the week?
No block punts, but let's go. I'm going to say I'll give you 2 as well, just to bounce off the top of my head. I combined at least 3 turnovers in the New Hanover and Topsail game.
Okay.
I'm thinking, I don't think we'll have any block punts, but I think we'll have the ball changing hands a few times. That's my first one. just kind of throwing that out there as a fun little prop bet you can do on your we need to get a little Bet Wilmington app going, Jackson. If only North Carolina would legalize
WWAY. No, I'm just kidding.
And then my other one is, even though I think it's going to be a close game, I think West is going to continue their streak. Last year they had it for about 7 or 8 games. Let me have the Trojans to pitch another shutout on their home opener against the Laney Buccaneers.
I was almost thinking that West Brunswick does another shutout would be a prediction for myself, just because Laney wasn't able to score much against Topsail. I think the West Brunswick's defense is a little bit better than Topsail's this year, but I felt that might have been a little too hypocritical after I said that I thought Laney was going to throw for 3 passing touchdowns in the opening week was my bold prediction last week, and I didn't quite get that one right. So,
yeah, they could have had a couple. Like I said, they had a couple of passes that were dropped. I was thinking of that as I was over in Bucktown shooting the game. I was like, Jackson said 3 passing touchdowns. There's one that probably could have been a touchdown, but yeah.
I think Kyvius Berry comes back this week. I know
exactly.
Play last Friday, but Laney gets back to full strength this week. And, with all the basketball teams out, we're going to have all the football teams are going to be pretty much at full strength other than the occasional lacrosse player that might have to miss a game. So, Tanner, thank you so much again. As always, would you have anything to plug again before? I know 5th quarter, right? That's the weekly segment.
Yeah, 5th quarter coming up Friday night. Hopefully everybody can join us. High school football highlights. We have a post-game reaction from our game of the week. Still trying to pin down what that game of the week is going to be. There's some good matchups on tap, as well as getting our other schools involved out west, Whiteville, East, or West Columbus, South Columbus, all those schools trying to still get back into the swing of things. I know a lot of them missed COVID game or week 1 games as well, and I was looking forward to Heidi Trask Pender this last week, but sadly that one's put on shelf. So now we'll get to see Pender take on East Carteret. So should be a good one. Hopefully we can have some good football games and a lot to look forward to next week.
Yeah, very happy for Pender that they found a game because otherwise, they'd have to miss the first 2 games of the season.
2 weeks, yeah.
Mm-hmm. But, and as always, guys, on my end, at StarNewsVarsity on Twitter and Facebook, you'll have, by the time you're watching this Thursday morning, we'll have a story kind of talking to coaches about why the defenses are a little bit ahead of the offenses right now in our area. And it kind of makes sense for a multitude of reasons, talent and COVID delays playing a part. So, but as always, Star News Varsity on all social media. Thank you guys so much for watching. Tune in next week. And Tanner, thank you so much. I'll see you next Wednesday or Thursday, man.
Peace.